Hey, YouTube, you get to see more of my beautiful face because I've got lots of stuff done across different types of vlog series videos that I'm always up to. And this next one, as you can tell by my shirt, is the next entry in my Bill 69 series, which I posted 13 videos right at the kind of beginning of COVID when I was searching for stuff to do. And so basically, just to refresh you, this is me and my buddy Simon, also known as Civ, many years ago embarked on a quest to complete 69 retro video games. Some games that we've played before in the past and beaten. Some games that we've played before in the past and never had the chance to beat and now do. Now that we're much older and wiser and better, of course. And games that we've always known about and never got around to playing. And then just games that have we've discovered all these years later and have been playing for the first time, not only to play them for the first time, but discover them in general for the first time. So this 14th entry in the series, the last one I posted was back in February, and we've kind of been waiting since then to post my next video because we'd been waiting to play some games again together because, of course, at the beginning of COVID, nobody was allowed to go in anywhere and do anything. So we had to kind of weather a few months there before they kind of loosened up the restrictions and such, and we were finally able to get together and start playing again on our weekly gaming nights. So we were able to do that. And we did suffer some setbacks because my buddy Simon's video game machine, it was part of a Kickstarter campaign he got in on a few years back, and it was full of all these games that he had, and we played quite a few of them. But one day his machine kind of crapped out, so he took it to a guy in the city here that fixes consoles and stuff. And Simon was told, like, for the amount of time and effort that this guy would have had to put in to fix this machine, he said it just wouldn't be worth it. It would be too much time and cost too much money. But this guy informed Simon that he actually takes original Xbox consoles and puts a whole bunch of old games on them and stuff like that. So it basically becomes a retro arcade machine sort of thing, and you can still play original Xbox games on it. So Simon was like, yes, please give me one of those. So he got it a while back, and so we've kind of got back into the swing of things. So we have been playing all along, but we did suffer a little setback with his machine going down and waiting for the new one, and because we had to go to his house for the most part because of his two daughters are both young, and so with bedtime routines and all that kind of stuff, we kind of had to be at his house. But we have been here a couple times recently, so we have been back into the swing of things finally, and we have had our next threesome of games completed. So the first one we completed was surprisingly one I'd always known about and wanted to play, but never got around to playing it. Somehow, in some way, I never ever actually played it, and that is Super Mario Brothers 2. So this game was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System by Nintendo in the year 1988. Now, it starts with Mario has a dream. He goes to this mysterious dreamland, which I believe is called Subcon. And once in this dreamland, he is informed by its residents that it has been taken over by this evil being named Wart. And they want to be freed and stuff like that. And so he eventually wakes up with this kind of haunting memory of this dreamland and its oppression. And so he goes on a picnic the next day with Luigi, Toad, and Princess Toadstool. And he relays the details of this dream to them. And they're like, what? We all had the same dream, yo? So then they're like, oh, there's more to this than we believe. So while they're on this picnic, they go over to this mysterious cave, and inside of it is a staircase. They follow it to the top, and suddenly they are in Subcon, and they can actually go and work their way through this land and free it from the evil Wart. So they can actually make it happen. Now, this game consists of 7 worlds. Each world except the final world consists of three levels. The last one only has two. And you make your way through these levels on your way to facing down Wart. And at the end of each, the last level in each world, you have to face a boss. Now, the bosses are usually large animal versions of some enemies you face in the game. Some are you don't. There's a giant three-headed snake, a giant mouse, a giant crab, that sort of thing. And at the end of the previous levels in each world, you face kind of a mini boss, and who goes by the name of Birdo. So you probably know Birdo, and I believe this must be his first appearance. He was kind of originated in the Super Mario Brothers 2 game, because I'd always known a Birdo from more recent Mario games, but I had no idea kind of where his origins lied. So obviously they come from this game. As you make your way through the game, there's lots of there's lots of pickups to be had. You can get coins, which you can spend at the end of the level to get free men and stuff like that. There's hearts, which add 1 heart to your health meter. Mushrooms fully replenish your health meter. You can get magic potions, which flip the dreamland into some dark nightmare land almost, but it's not a nightmare land, that you can collect more coins. What else is there? There's quite a few more things, but I forget what they all are. But there's lots of stuff to be on the lookout for. And the other thing to be on the lookout for, of course, are vegetables. Now, this is a big difference between the first Mario Brothers that came before it, and then the third Mario Brothers that came after it, and then all the other Mario Brothers that came after it, that one. Because, excuse me, unlike those games, you don't dispatch enemies by jumping on their head. You actually have to harvest and pluck vegetables from the ground, pick them up, and then hurl them at your enemies. And that's how you destroy them. So it's a totally different gameplay experience compared to the Mario Brothers that surround it. And I'm not sure why. It's kind of this weird shift in direction, but it is cool. I like it. It's different, and it's definitely an adjustment. But everything about it is cool. It's a really fun game, and if you can kind of just gather your wits, learn this difference in gameplay, and take it to the bosses and traipse your way through all the levels and face down Wart, you can beat the game. Now, despite all the differences, and there are some other differences as well, the other than the whole vegetable thing, the other main difference in it is that before you start each level, you get to pick which character you want to use, and it's all 4 characters are available to you at the outset of the game. So you can control Mario, Luigi, Princess Toadstool, or Toad, and depending on who you pick, they all have different ratings. So, and the 2 things they can be rated on is their jumping ability, as well as their plucking ability, how fast they can pluck stuff. So, and they all have various ratings on there. We found Peach was the best kind of overall person, and that's who we played with mostly. Or sorry, Toadstool, I guess. So yeah, so that's another one of the main differences. But there are some similarities. The gameplay, the look of the game, it all looks very Mario Brothers. And the other thing is that they also, in a lot of Mario Brothers games, you can find secrets that you can take to, warp pipes and stuff like that will take you across worlds, so you can skip certain worlds. This game also has that as well. So there are some similarities. There's a lot of differences, but there are some similarities between the games. And they're not so different that you would go, oh, you would never clue together that these are from the same series, if you didn't know that they were all called Mario Brothers, right? So they are different, but they are still, in essence, very Mario Brothers types of games, right? So really good game. Glad I finally played it all these years later, and I actually have it downloaded on my Wii from the eShop from years ago, but had never got around to playing it. So it was nice to finally, get in on it, discover it, and get it completed. Simon actually, this is one of his favorite games. He played this a lot as a kid, so he even remembered where some of the warp areas were after not having played it for years and years and years. But that's some of the stuff you remember as a kid, right? You play a game all these years later, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. Like, it just never leaves you, right? So that was kind of funny when we were playing that. He was like, I think there's something here, and then he found it, and that was good because we got to skip a couple of worlds and make our journey a little easier, right? So, anyways, that was the first game. The second game up is one that I had never played, and I believe Simon had never played it either, but it's kind of right up his alley because he loves comic book games and comic book stuff in general. So the second game was The Punisher. The Punisher was released for the Sega Genesis in 1994 by Capcom, and if you don't know The Punisher is a guy named Frank Castle whose family is killed in front of him, and it kind of turns him into a cold-blooded killer, but not a bad cold-blooded killer, a cold-blooded killer who goes after the bad guys. And unlike other superheroes who might be like, you're going to face justice and go to jail and trial and stuff like that, he's like, no, I'll just shoot him in the face and kill him, and then it's over with, right? Which I kind of agree with the Punisher in a lot of these cases, right? So in this game, he is looking for links to the criminal mob boss organization and the head honcho behind it that is responsible for the offing of his family, and is journeying on his way to facing down this whole organization and bringing them to ruin. So now, at the same time, Shield and Nick Fury are also on the case of this organization, and so Punisher thinks, oh, am I going to get interference from Nick Fury and not be able to do what I gotta do, sort of thing. So that's kind of the premise behind this game. So the cool thing about it is that if you're playing one player, you play as the Punisher, but if you're playing two player, like me and Simon obviously did, the second player controls Nick Fury, and you kind of combine in this kind of really cool tag team between two really cool Marvel characters. So the game is very much a side-scrolling beat-em-up in the same vein as like the Golden Axe series and stuff like that, which I love. So I really took to this game right away. It's my style of game. I love that kind of game. Not too much to really think about. Just a whole lot of fun, a whole lot of just reacting and planning and strategy along the way, but all fast paced, you know. And in total, there's 6 stages. It starts in the city streets, and then you move on to going through a pool drain pipe, through a castle, harbor front, some sort of secret facility, and then on your way up to the lead into the where the main boss of the game is kind of stashed away. And of course, the main boss in the game is Kingpin. He's the guy behind the whole thing, and that's who you face down in the end to win the game. Along the way, there are some sub-bosses as well, these kind of weird guard droid things. There's lots of pickups to be had. Some of them are monetary, like there's gold bars and money bags and stuff like that, which give you extra points, which I believe lead to free men, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember exactly, but otherwise I don't know what the point of points are, to be honest. But one of the really fun things is I love it when games have interactive environments. To me, that is a real key, especially in a side-scrolling beat-em-up game like that. That is a real key to making it as fun and as good a game as you can possibly make it. This one has that, quite a bit of that, and a lot of it has to do with weapons that you can pick up, either lying around or when you break something and it appears, or when you beat an enemy down and they drop it, sort of thing. So there's a couple different types of guns you can pick up: knives, axes, swords. What else? Barrels. You can smash barrels on people. Flamethrowers, and then a few others I'm probably forgetting. So that makes it a lot of fun. And then the other thing, of course, is food items, which help replenish your health bar. There's hot dogs, pizza, different types of meat platters and stuff like that all fill you up to various degrees. So lots of stuff to look out for and whatever. But overall, it's a pretty simple concept. And the moves are pretty simple. You can punch, jump, do a little roll to get out of trouble. Of course, when you're in the air, you can do like a jump kick or whatever. And then when you're in the air, you can also drop grenades, and when you're punching on the ground, you can also grapple and do some throws and stuff like that. So it's all pretty simple stuff, pretty basic. But in that kind of game, you don't need too much in terms of moves and stuff like that. You need to keep things simple. You need to keep things fast paced. You need to keep things interactive, like I said, and it all adds up into a great gameplay experience, and that's what the Punisher has. It's not quite as good as Golden Axe. Like Golden Axe to me that series is, the cream of the crop in terms of that type of game. But, it's not too far behind. So in my opinion, this game gets a good solid 8 out of 10 for me. And especially if you like comic books and that kind of thing, there's an little extra incentive to play this game. So glad we discovered it, glad we played it, glad we beat it. On to the third game. The third game is also a Sega Genesis title. And this is one that I actually have a Sega Genesis collection of games that I picked up at Game Cycle a couple years ago for the PS3. And this game was on it. I'd never heard of it, but me and James, in the earliest days of COVID, were playing that game and discovered it, and were like immediately hooked on it and played it until we beat it. And the game in question is called Bonanza Brothers. Bonanza Brothers is a 2-player game that stars a brother combination named Mike and Spike, and they are like cat burglar types, I guess, who are mysteriously contacted one day by this shadowy figure who's like, I want to hire you guys to test out my security at all my different locations, and try and go in and steal all this stuff I have scattered about each location, and see if you can do it and test my security. So it's all kind of shady, and the two brothers are like, is this on the up and up? Like, is there something more going on here? But the payoff seems too good to be to ignore, so they go for it. And so you are basically tasked with going into 10 different locations and going in and proceeding through them and swiping usually between 4 to 6 different items from these locations. The locations include like a company of some kind, a casino, a mint, a jewelry store, a pyramid. What else is there? A cruise liner, some underground storage facility, and then probably a couple others that I don't remember. And there's usually between 4 to 6 of these valuable items that you have to obtain within each location, which includes stuff like, there's floppy disks, right? I miss floppy disks in a way. Floppy disk briefcases, cash, different types of prototypes, weaponry and gadgets and stuff like that, and technology. So you have to make your way through these locations and acquire all these items, and then make your way to the top of each facility where a blimp will be awaiting you to extract you from the area and complete the level. Each level has a time limit, so you can't dawdle. You have to pick up your boots, and it gets a little tighter with each successive location that you complete. And there's not much to this game. It's very simple. There's no pickups or anything to be had other than the items you have to obtain. The moves the guys can do are very simple. You can, of course, move left and right. You can go up and down in the level. So basically, you can climb up onto things like furniture, onto staircases to go up a level, or come down to the main level of the kind of floor that you're on. And it's kind of different controls to get used to, but once you know, it's easy. So you can move those different directions. You can jump. And you can shoot this gun you have. It's not a gun. It's just like a disabling kind of gun. So when you hit your enemies with it, it doesn't kill them. It just disables them for like maybe 5, 7, 10 seconds, something like that. So you have to pay attention to them. You're recovering their wits and coming at you again, right? So in terms of the enemies you face, mostly it's different types of guards that you're going to face. There's maybe 3 or 4 different types, and they all have different capabilities and tendencies. So you have to kind of learn what each one does, and then it makes it easier for you to plan your route through each facility and how you're going to approach it. And then what also helps determine your approach is different environmental aspects of the game. There's a couple of different things you can use to disable enemies outside of your own weaponry. When you're on the other side of a door and an enemy gets close to the opposite side, you can open it and kind of splat them against the wall. In the mint, there's these little levers you can pull, which brings down like a hydraulic press. So if they're underneath that, it kind of squashes them. And then there's also environmental things that get in your way, like there's rakes that you can step on, which not only kind of disable you for a minute, it also alerts people to your presence. Same thing with like tin cans, you have to jump over them or else they make a racket and bring people to your attention. And then the only other thing you have to watch out for, there's a couple levels, there's some dogs that will chase you and stuff like that. So, but other than that, yeah, it's a really simple game in theory. There's you can get the picture that there's not a lot to it. You know, your moves are really simplistic. There's nothing to worry about picking up. It's just kind of this basic kind of game, but it actually requires a lot of strategy, because like I said, you have to know the tendency of your enemies. You have to be aware of your environment and use it to your advantage when you can, and that sort of thing. And then also, the game is a split screen game, so player 1 is on top, I believe, and player 2 is on the bottom of the screen. So your approach to beating each facility is very important as well. Me and Simon, and also me and James, when we first started playing this game, we always chose to split up and go different ways rather than going together and having greater numbers. We chose to split up and each do a different section of the facility and collect the different items in those locations, and then reunite kind of along the way up towards the exit, right? We just found that was a better use of the time because you are under a time limit. So you, like I said, you can't dawdle. So kind of dividing and conquering was kind of the way we approached it, and it really seemed to work. Not that we never came together. Like if somebody got into some trouble and needed some help, if the other guy wasn't grossly on the far other side of the facility and it was going to be inconvenient to come back or whatever, we would, we'd come together and lend aid when we had to, sort of thing. But otherwise, we just kind of, like I said, divide and conquer and each go their own way and get their own stuff and then reunite, towards the top of the level and towards the exit, sort of thing. So this game is so ridiculous. Like the whole premise of it, it looks goofy, it sounds goofy, but once you play it a couple times, even when you're playing the first level the first time, you're like, what is this? But then, ultimately you kind of die on the first level. You don't really make it through the first time. At least we didn't. So you go back and replay it. So as soon as you start replaying that first level and you start getting the fact that, oh, okay, you got to use strategy, you got to do this and whatever, it gets to you, right? And it just becomes this addictive, goofy little title, so quirky that you just can't stop thinking about it, and you just want to play it and play it and play it until you've beaten it. And that's what me and James did the first time we played it. And then when it came time, Simon had never heard of it, and I said, dude, we should look at Bonanza Bros. And so we did, and Simon really liked it too. He thought it was like crazy goofy as well. And that second time playing through it, like, it was almost like doing it for the first time again. It was like some games you go back and you replay and it's like, yeah, it was fun, but it wasn't like the first time. Like this game, I could go upstairs and play it right now again, and be totally like a pig in shit sort of thing, right? So it's just one of those games that it's kind of a surprise, goofy, quirky hit that is so outside the box, but is so well done that you just can't get enough of. So that is the 3 games we finished this time around. 2 games, like I said, for the Sega that we'd never really heard of, didn't know existed, but had a lot of fun playing. And then Super Mario Brothers 2, which I'd always wanted to play but never had and was totally aware of course. And then Simon, of course, being aware of it and being one of his favorite games as a kid. That one was kind of a no-brainer. So there was a no-brainer, and then two surprise hits that we discovered all these years later as this kind of latest entry in the Bill 69 series. So we have already gotten one more under our belt that we just did this past Thursday. I've actually, just so you know, I have a blog on GameSpot, which I haven't updated my regular series of blogs because I was set to post it right at the end of March when COVID lockdown came down, and I didn't get around to doing it because everything was so crazy. And I hate posting from the Macs we have at home here. To be honest, I usually write them there, but when it comes time to posting, I just email it to my Hotmail account, and then I just take 5 minutes at work, post it on my PC there, which is so much easier. So I wasn't able to do that because I was off work just before March ended, so I was like a couple days away from posting that latest blog, but couldn't because I got sent home. And so then it's just been, I've been keep updating it here as I've been getting stuff done. But at this point, the blog has gotten so big that I'm afraid of posting it. And only once I'm back at work will I be able to post it. And I'm afraid it's just going to be too big. I'm going to have to do it in sections maybe. I don't know. But just so you know, I do have this blog on GameSpot. And so my regular blog that I've just been talking about, which is kind of off topic, like I said, I'm going to have a big one to do on that. But I also blog about our Bill 69 series. And for each 3 games that we beat, I post a blog entry just describing our adventures and a few gameplay picks and stuff like that. And so I like to have my blog written and posted before I do my videos. So although we finished this 3rd game 2 weeks ago, it took me a while to get everything written and posted, and only then have I done the video after that. So we've actually already got our first game of the next 3 that we're going to be posting about eventually completed. So we got 2 more to go, and then I'll have another video ready to go. So hopefully sometime in the next couple months at least, I should have another video up here and going for our ongoing adventures in the retro gaming universe. So until that time, keep your fingers crossed and your breath held, and I will be back. I promise you that.